El Salvador used to be one of the most dangerous places on earth. Now, it's safer than most American cities, and it didn't happen by magic. It happened because one man, Nayib Bukele, tore up the old rulebook and rewrote the future of his country, for better or worse. A few years ago, you wouldn't dream of walking down the streets of San Salvador after dark. The country was trapped in a nightmare of gang violence. Murder rates were sky high, kidnappings and extortion were daily realities, and ordinary people were terrified to leave their homes. For decades, two major gangs, MS-13 and Barrio 18, ran entire neighborhoods. They collected taxes from businesses, recruited kids as young as 12, and punished anyone who refused to play by their rules. El Salvador wasn't just unsafe, it was broken. Then came Nayib Bukele, a young, tech-savvy politician who branded himself as an outsider. Bukele promised to do what no one before him had managed, crush the gangs and make El Salvador livable again. And he didn't wait around to play nice with the old political class. In 2019, he won the presidency on a wave of anger against the corrupt establishment. His message was simple. People were tired of fear, tired of politicians making excuses, tired of living in a country where leaving home could cost you your life. Bukele's plan was aggressive. The most famous part of it was the massive crackdown on gangs. Thousands of soldiers and police officers flooded the streets. New laws allowed mass arrests of suspected gang members, and a massive mega prison was built to lock them up. Within months, tens of thousands of alleged gang members were behind bars. Entire neighborhoods that used to be no-go zones were suddenly free of gunfire. Parents could finally take their kids to school without worrying about stray bullets. People could walk to their jobs every day without fear of being shot. For ordinary Salvadorans, this felt like a miracle, or a salvation if you will. But it wasn't just brute force. Bukele knew you can't fix a country only with prisons and soldiers. He started pushing for digital transformation, trying to modernize government services, attract foreign investment, and create jobs. He famously made Bitcoin legal tender, hoping to put El Salvador on the global map as a tech-friendly nation. The Bitcoin experiment had mixed results, but it showed that Bukele wanted more than just law and order. He wanted El Salvador to dream bigger, and that alone is admirable. Of course, his methods raised eyebrows. Human rights groups cried foul, saying innocent people were caught up in mass arrests and had no way to defend themselves. Some critics say Bukele is more of a strongman than a democratic leader, pointing out how he fired judges, sidelined political opponents, and gave the military a bigger role in civilian life. International organizations accused him of sliding toward authoritarianism, even as his popularity soared at home. And it's true. El Salvador today is not a textbook example of liberal democracy. It's a country where one man's iron fist has brought order, but at the cost of weakened checks and balances. Still, the results are hard to ignore. The murder rate in El Salvador has dropped by over 80% in just a few years. From being one of the murder capitals of the world, it now boasts one of the lowest homicide rates in Latin America. Tourists are coming back. Businesses are opening in places they once fled. Families who had considered emigrating to the U.S. are staying put because they finally feel safe. For the first time in decades, hope feels real in El Salvador. And just a few days ago, Bukele announced the removal of term limits for the presidency of El Salvador, and immediately got slandered by the usual suspects about human rights abuses and corruption of power. He hit back with this tweet, which I completely agree with. He says that many countries around the world, a lot of them being the ones crying, also have no term limits. But anyway, the results speak for themselves. One story sums up the change perfectly. A shop owner in San Salvador told a reporter that just 3 years ago, he had to pay gangs a protection tax every week just to keep his little store open. If he refused, he'd be dead. Today, he pays nothing. The same street where gunmen used to walk freely is now patrolled by police. His kids play outside. He says it feels like a different country. But here's the big question. Can this last? Critics warn that the crackdown doesn't fix the root causes of gang violence: poverty, lack of education, and broken communities. Locking up tens of thousands of people may bring peace now, but what happens when prisons overflow or new gangs rise? And if democracy keeps taking a backseat, could El Salvador one day wake up with a different kind of problem? A leader too powerful to stop? For now, most Salvadorans aren't thinking about that. They're thinking about the simple joy of living without fear. They're thinking about the sound of their kids laughing instead of gunshots at night. Nayib Bukele gave them that. Whether you call him a hero or a tyrant, there's no denying he changed his country in record time. Few leaders in modern history have turned around a national crisis this fast, this dramatically, and this controversially. Here's the thing, Bukele has only been in power for 6 years, which is a short time in the grand scheme of things. And yet, he has achieved remarkable results. His favorability rating is over 80% as of today. So it's very likely he will win re-election. Could he be a mainstay in the geopolitical world? Someone who becomes a familiar face for the next decade or two, or even longer like Lee Kuan Yew? Imagine the possible change Bukele could bring to El Salvador if he was given ample power and time. Turning it into the Singapore of Central America may not be such a far-fetched dream. Although maybe that's not the target Bukele is aiming for, but it's noble. Even taking inspiration from Seretse Khama, the first president of Botswana, or the more recent Paul Kagame of Rwanda, who are both political role models. El Salvador's story is a lesson for the world. People crave safety above all else. Give them that and they'll forgive almost anything else. Take it away and no promises of democracy or free markets will make up for it. Bukele bet his entire presidency on this truth, and so far, it's working. Look at other countries who follow such a method. China, for example, promises safety, stability, and peace in exchange for some freedoms. While India, for example, brags about being the world's largest democracy yet is mired in ethnic and religious violence, caste discrimination and violence towards women. And look at what this safety and stability has achieved for China. It has created an economic powerhouse that creates cities far smarter and more modern than any seen in America. It has allowed research and development into critical industries. It has allowed technology and infrastructure to flourish. Whereas in India, good infrastructure is almost non-existent. Hardly any cutting-edge research or inventions come out of India, and people are lynched for disrespecting a random cow on the street. Point being, safety, along with accessible food and shelter, is one of the most basic human needs, and El Salvador's polling is proof of this. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.